So this is an OM system, OM-5. I bought it in early 2024 and since then I've taken about 20,000 photos with it. They say your first 10,000 photos are your worst. Well, I'm up to almost 20,000 and I only kept about 5% of those photos. I don't know if that says something about me or about my photography. Probably both. Yeah. Anyways, today I want to talk about 5 things those photos has taught me, 5 lessons, and what those 5 lessons can teach you. Hi, hello everybody, welcome back to a new video, hope you're all well. So, about a month and a half before I bought the OM-5, I had this Sony a7 II with a 2470 2.8 strap to it. And on paper, beautiful combo. Full frame, sharp lens, everything the internet said I should want. And the first time I took it out, genuinely loved it. The files were gorgeous. The bokeh everyone talks about, the whole thing. Then, about 2 weeks in, I went for a walk with it, and maybe 2 hours in, something happened that I didn't really expect. I wasn't thinking about light anymore. I wasn't thinking about composition. I wasn't even really thinking about the photos I was supposed to be taking. I was thinking about my shoulders. I was thinking about the camera strap cutting in, and I was just thinking, if I just put the camera down for 10 minutes, maybe my neck would stop hurting. And I remember at some point, I just stopped and just put the camera back into the bag again. Not because I'd run out of stuff to shoot, because the camera had become the thing I was thinking about and not the photos. And actually, it wasn't even the first time. Back in 2014, when I first bought my first camera, up to 2018, I had the same problems. I had a Nikon D5200, also a big camera, and I experienced the exact same thing back then. So one would think I would learn. Yeah. Fast forward like 6 weeks, I go to Gothenburg and I buy the OM-5. Tiny, light, honestly, kind of looks like a toy if you put it next to the a7 II. I take it on the same kind of walk. 2 hours in, I'm still shooting. 3 hours in, I'm still shooting. I forget I'm wearing it. And here's the thing I want to be careful about, because this is where every gear video gets it wrong. People will tell you that gear doesn't matter. Well, honestly, that's a complete lie. I can tell you, after 20,000 frames with this thing, gear matters. It matters a lot. But for the way I shoot, it only matters in one direction. How invisible it can become. We all want different things from the tools, but for me, the best gear isn't the gear you notice. It's the gear you forget you're holding. Because the moment the camera stops demanding the wrong kind of attention, it's the moment you start seeing again. And that is technical friction. That's lesson 1. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting, because the OM-5 solved one problem, but quietly created another one. The camera is so light, it's so easy to lift, and it's so pocketable, that I started noticing something a few months in. I'd walk up to a scene, lift the camera, take the photo, and just move on. 3 seconds, done, next. And I was getting photos, plenty of them, but something was missing. I'm a huge Nick Carver fan, and one of the things I love watching him do is setting up his large format camera. The whole process takes forever. He sets up the tripod, he frames, he thinks about what to include, what to exclude. He waits for the right time of day, the right weather, the right light. The camera forces him to slow down. The format itself does the work of making him present. The OM-5 doesn't force anything. It doesn't make you wait. It doesn't make you set up. I've basically never put my OM-5 on a tripod. So nothing about the camera asks me to slow down, which means I have to do it myself, manually. So I started doing this thing, and it sounds kind of silly when I say it out loud, but before I'd lift the camera, I'd just stand there for 5-10 minutes. Just stand, listen to the birds, listen to the wind, the water, the cars in the distance if there were any, the sound of my own breathing. And only after I'd actually been in the place for a while, only then I would lift the camera. And the photos changed. Not technically, the same camera, the same lens, the same settings. The photos changed because I had. And this is the contradiction I want you to sit with for a second. Because lesson 1 was about how your camera needs to stop demanding the wrong kind of attention. This one is kind of the opposite. A camera that demands no attention at all becomes its own kind of friction. Not on your shoulder, but in your presence. The lightness of the OM-5 is a gift, but every gift has a cost. And the cost for me anyway is that I have to put the presence back in manually. The large format camera does it for you. The OM-5 makes you do it yourself. So, be present, manually. That's lesson 2. Okay, now we need to talk about the elephant in every Micro Four Thirds conversation. Full frame. Honestly, over the last 2 years, I've thought about upgrading more than once. Not to any specific camera brand or that I need any specific camera feature. Just the question, should I move to full frame? And I'd sit with it for a while and I'd ask myself one follow-up question. Okay, what would actually change for me? So let's go through it. If you spend any time online, you know there's basically 3 big arguments why one should move to full frame. 1, better dynamic range and or low light performance. 2, you can crop more. And 3, making larger prints. So let's start with the first one. Better dynamic range and low light performance. Well, I shoot in daytime 99% of the time. Argument number 2. More megapixels means I can crop more. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But honestly, if I need to crop my photos that aggressively, that often, the problem isn't the sensor. The problem is I'm using either the wrong focal length, or I'm framing the subject wrong, or I'm in the wrong position. That's a me problem, not a sensor problem. Buying a higher resolution sensor to compensate for lazy footwork doesn't make you a better photographer. It just gives you sharper pixels on a photo you didn't think through. Unless you shoot wildlife. I'm not going to stand here and say zoom with your feet when your subject has teeth. Or birds. Most of them fly. You guys get a pass. Okay, so the third argument, I can print bigger. Also true. So let's actually do the math on this one. Now, I'll be honest, my exhibition prints aren't ready yet, so I can't show you mine on screen. So I printed some cardboard because I'm a highly respected professional YouTube creator. This is 17 by 13. This is gallery size. This is what the OM-5 gives you at the highest print standard. And at 200 dpi, which is excellent by the way, for hanging anything in your own home, you get something close to this. This 26 by 19 inches looks like this. When was the last time you hang something that big, or you printed something that big for your own home? I should probably pick those up. Look, I'm not saying that full frame is bad. Full frame is incredible. If you shoot weddings in dark churches, if you shoot astrophotography, if you have a specific need that a larger sensor actually solves, go full frame. By all means. Use the right tool for the job. But for most of us, most of the time, and I'm including myself in that, the full frame argument isn't actually about photography. It's about wanting permission to feel like a serious photographer. We think the biggest sensor will make us legitimate. That's the real itch. The OM-5 doesn't give you that permission, and honestly, that's the point. Over these 20,000 frames, the itch to get a full frame camera has become less and less. Not because I decided to be at peace with my gear, not because I did some big mental leap. Just every time the question came up, every time I got that thought in my head, should I move to full frame? I couldn't motivate it. I still can't motivate it for the work I do. So you probably don't need it. That's lesson 3. When I bought the OM-5 in early 2024, it came with the 1245 kit lens. Great lens, by the way. Genuinely sharp throughout the range, no complaints about the optics at all. The problem and why I switched wasn't the lens. The problem was me, because I didn't actually know what I was looking for yet. So I'd walk up to a scene, I'd zoom in a bit, zoom out a bit, slide the ring back and forth like I was tuning a radio. Honestly, it was kind of a lazy way to shoot. The lens were making the decisions I should have been making. Then, in late November 2024, I bought my first prime lens, the Lumix 20mm f1.7. And as you guys know, that focal length has basically been my entire photographic identity ever since. 20mm, the Jimmy lens. That's what I shoot. That's the style. My style. Or well, was the style. We'll get to that. The moment I stopped zooming, I had to start moving. The lens stopped negotiating with the scene for me. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, crouch a bit, stand on a rock if there were one. The decisions I had been quietly outsourcing to the zoom ring were suddenly all mine again. I stayed on 20mm for about 1.5 years, and in August of last year I switched to the OM system 20mm 1.4 instead. But it was still 20mm. Same focal length, same field of view, same way of looking at the world, day after day, for thousands of frames. And here is what that did to me. And I genuinely didn't notice it happening at the time. The prime didn't teach me composition rules, it didn't teach me the rule of thirds or leading lines, or any of the stuff photography YouTube usually teaches with the very confident graphics over the top. It taught me geometry. It taught me where the edges of the frame land relative to where I'm standing. That if I move 2 meters to the left, that tree on the right leaves the frame, and a new shape opens up in the bottom left corner. It taught me the shape of 20mm, until eventually the focal length just became a physical instinct. My eyes basically got stuck at 20mm, which is either very impressive or mildly concerning, depending on who you ask. But somewhere over the last few months, something started happening that I didn't see coming. I'd be standing in front of a scene, knew exactly what I wanted, and I'd realized I needed to get a bit closer, 1 meter or maybe 2. Not far, but the moment I moved, the whole composition would shift. The light on the left would change, a line on the right would skew. Something always broke. The first few times it happened, I just shrugged, moved on, took the photo I could get instead of the one I wanted. And eventually I clocked what that feeling was, because I had felt it before. 2 years ago, the A7 II, the thing on my shoulder, the gear asking me to think about it instead of the photo. The thing we already talked about in lesson 1, technical friction. The 20mm had become it, which honestly felt like a bit of a betrayal, but okay. The lens hadn't changed. I had.
I don't think we should see each other anymore. This friendship, it's not working. Not working? What are you talking about?
I had internalized the focal length so deeply that I could feel exactly where it stopped serving the photo I had in my head. And that's the moment a constraint stops being a teacher and starts being a wall. So a few weeks back, I made a decision. And look, after a year and a half of being completely insufferable about prime lenses on this channel, this feels slightly humiliating. If you've been here a while and you're rolling your eyes right now, fair. I completely deserve that. But I did the thing. I put the 1245 back on the camera again. This thing. Not because I missed the zoom, but I'd outgrown the prime. I still start every frame at 20mm, every single one. And I'm not even looking down at the lens to check the millimeter. I just see it in the EVF. Then I'll nudge a touch wider or a touch tighter if the photo actually needs it. And I think that's what style actually is. You don't develop it by deciding. The harder you try, the more it looks like an imitation of someone else. You develop it by being held to something, a focal length, a camera, a subject, a constraint. Pick one, stay with it long enough, and something starts growing inside of the constraint. Not because you put it there, because there was nowhere else for it to grow. And you only find out it's actually yours the moment you take the constraint away and discover the style stayed, the shape held. I'm still seeing in 20mm even when the lens lets me do otherwise. That's when you know it's real. Style is the residue of constraint. It's what you can't help doing, even when nothing is stopping you anymore. And that is lesson 4. I've said this on the channel before, but I'll say it again because I genuinely believe it. You become a photographer the moment you achieve the result you were after, not before. Not when you bought the camera, not when you learned manual mode, not when someone first paid you for a photo. You become a photographer the moment the photo in your head matches the photo on the back of your camera. And that happened, for me, somewhere in those 20,000 frames. There wasn't a moment with a soundtrack and a beam of light, but it happened because at some point I stopped trying to take photographs and I started taking the photographs, the ones that were already in my head. And here's the thing, the OM-5 didn't make me a photographer. Let's be really clear about that. A camera has never made anybody a photographer. 20,000 attempts did. The doing of the thing, that's what did it. The OM-5 just happened to be the camera that was there for all the attempts. Light enough to come along, quiet enough to get out of the way, honest enough to not give me an excuse. So I became a photographer. That's lesson 5. Before I go though, I wanted to ask you something. What was the moment you first felt like the photo you took actually was yours? Not technically correct, not approved by someone else, just yours. I'd love to know, so let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's it for today guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a like and consider subscribing. I appreciate it so much. But until next time, have a good day or evening, whenever you're watching this. Out.